How's it going, everybody? We're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist, I'll listen to the entire discography, and give my thoughts on it. And the rules go kind of like this, for those of you who are new to this program. The artist in question must have at least 5 or more original studio albums. Cover albums can count. I generally don't talk about live or acoustic albums unless the songs are original in that form, so here we go. And this week, we're going to do a band who I believe is very underrated, but at the same time, very consistent. A band that has been around since before Metallica, before Megadeth, before Slayer, before the Big Four, but at the same time, they never got the credit they deserve. So I sort of got on a kick of listening to this band here recently, so I decided to do the full discography of Anvil. That's right, these guys hailing from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So yeah, these guys from the same country as Rush and Sum 41. So how did I get into Anvil? Well, it kind of started here with this movie. Now, I hadn't seen this movie until recently, but I remember, it was right around 2008, it got promoted. They were talking about how they were touring with, a lot of bigger bands, and just, they never got recognized. And sort of the premise of the movie is sort of like a documentary of that, where, they go in, they record their albums, and during the week, they work normal jobs like, most of us do out there. They work their jobs during the week, they do the recordings, and then when they go on vacation, basically their vacation is when they go on tour and do their live shows. So, from the time they started in the 70s until, the mid-2000s, for 30 years they were doing this. And at the same time, they just kept consistent. So I started to sort of listen to them after I heard about that movie, I heard Metal and Metal and Forged in Fire, those earlier albums, and they just kicked ass. It's like, how did they not get the credit? That's what I want to know. I feel like they should have been in the ranks there with Motorhead and Judas Priest. They sort of came out around that time, except, not really. They could have been they could have fit in with the British invasion, despite the fact they were from Canada. Maybe they could have been the Canadian invasion, I don't know. But, anyhow, Anvil, let's get into the meat of this. I know, I said meat. Alright, so, they have 20 original studio albums, and on top of all this, they're working on a 21st studio album, due to come out sometime in 2026. Don't know when yet. Ought to be interesting. But anyhow, they have 20 studio albums ranging from Hard and Heavy back in 1981 all the way to their latest one and Only, from only 2 years ago in 2024. So, yeah, let's get started here. So, starting off with Hard and Heavy, 1981. Now, this album, compared to, their albums that followed this, I wouldn't say it's, metal by any means, but it's still pretty heavy. Still fun to listen to. So, here we start off with School Love, the song AC/DC, At the Apartment, I Want You Both With Me, Bedroom Game, Ooh Baby. They do a cover of Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones. Damn good cover there. You got Oh Jane, Hot Child, and Bondage. And as you can tell by the titles already, they're sort of a horny band. They talk a lot about sex, and they talk a lot about weed. That's kind of the premise of their lyrics throughout the whole discography. Or you're going to notice this theme as I keep reading off the titles. Sort of another theme that you see with these guys is every album title they do is a 3-word title, and the first letter of the first and third words are the same, hard and heavy. So, yeah, so far, pretty good album there. I mean, not the best stuff they've done so far, but they're sort of at their infancy, but still a damn solid album. I like it. So then moving on, 1982, the very next year, we get Metal and Metal. And this is where I think they should have took off. And I didn't mention this before, but their album art just kicks ass. I love it. Of course, you know, in some way, shape, or form, all their album art features an Anvil. So, here we have their title track, Metal on Metal, and I feel like this is like their song, like the best song here. Then you got Mothra, Stop Me, March of the Crabs, which is a damn good instrumental. I love it. You have Jackhammer, and then you flip it over, you have Heat Sink, Tag Team, Scenery, Please Me, Tease Me, and we end it with 666. And here, yeah, this is where they get really heavy, I think. And I feel like they should... I feel like this is where they should have made it big, honestly. Yeah, now I'm drinking beer tonight. Yeah, I'm sorry, the brew reviews sort of ran out here lately. As I said in like the New Year's videos and stuff, I was having back issues. I think I'm over it now, but I'm getting injections here in the next week, so once I get past that, then hopefully sometime in February we'll do another binge, so stay tuned for that. But anyhow, moving along, and I started getting some of these on physical too. So we have their third album, Forged in Fire, from 1983. And like I said, the album art kicks ass. The very back of it showing the members. So we have, obviously, the title track, Forged in Fire, Shadow Zone, Freeze the Wind, Never Deceive Me, Butter Bust Jerky, Future Wars, Hard Times, Fast Ladies. Yeah, I wonder what that means. Make It Up to You, Motor Mount, and we end it with Winged Assassins. But man, sometimes I miss physical media. You know, you get like all the little notes and stuff. There's really no lyrics here, but just kind of showing you like the members and who it was produced by and all that good stuff. So definitely a good continuation to Metal on Metal. So moving on, not really a full album, but a compilation. I guess it's worth mentioning here. So, in '85, they come out with the album Backwaxed. So, what it is you get side 1, you get 5 new songs. Side 2, you get, like, 5 of their best songs from the first 3 albums. But essentially what it is the first side, the new songs, were previously recorded in their previous 3 sessions. So, basically what we're dealing with is 5 unreleased tracks on side 1, and 5 greatest hits tracks on side 2. So, I'll give the track listing, what the hell. So, we'll start off with Pussy Poison. That's right, that's what it's really called. You have Backwax, the title track to this. You have Steamin', which was from, like, the 1981 sessions. You have You're a Liar and Flying Cryin'. And then when you flip it over, you get Metal on Metal, Butter Bust Jerky, Scenery, Jackhammer, and School of. So then, moving on... Still in the 80s, 1987, we get Strength of Steel. So, really cool artwork on this one. It looks like the anvil split in half, and it looks like a dumbbell. I don't have a physical copy of this one. So we start off with Strength of Steel, Concrete Jungle. And no, it's not the Black Label Society song. This predates it by like 20 or 30 years. You get 925, you get I Dreamed It Was the End of the World. You get Fight of the Bumblebeast, Cut Loose. Flip it over, you get Mad Dog, Straight Between the Eyes. You get Wild Eyes, which is a Stampeders cover. Interesting. Kiss of Death, and we end it with Paper General. And yeah, I thought Paper General was a pretty good song. Good way to end it. So then, moving on, we have 1988's Pound for Pound. And this one I actually do have on physical, in the jewel case and everything. But here, given the artwork, love it. So, in this one we get Blood on the Ice, which, definitely you could tell this is Canadian because it's a song about hockey. So then, we have Corporate Preacher, another good one. Toe Jam, Safe Sex, Where Does All the Money Go, Brain Burn, See Now King, Machine Gun, Fire in the Night, and Cramps. And I would say from like Metal on, they really stayed true to the formula on this. But, yeah, pretty good decade there, rounding out the 80s. And then they did a live album in 89 called Past and Present Live in Concert, which, of course, those tracks are all what we've previously discussed, so I'm not really going to go over it too much here. So then we move on to the 90s. We start off in 1992 with Worth the Wait. So here we have, is it Infanticide? Yeah, that is. Infanticide, On the Way to Hell, Push Pig, Embalmer, Powwow, Sins of the Flesh, AZ number 85, and Sadness / Love Me When I'm Dead. And this album, although I didn't hate it, it really doesn't stand out amongst the others. So then, moving on, to take a 4-year break from the studio and come back, we have Plugged In Permanent in 1996. So here we have Racial Hostility, Dr. Kevorkian, Smoking Green, yeah, there you go, talk about pot. We got Destined for Doom, Killer Hill, Facepull, I'm Trying to Sleep, Five Knuckle Shuffle, Truth of Consequence, Guilty, and if you got a Japanese bonus, you got the song Stolen. And here again, like the last one, nothing that sticks out, but still pretty good stuff, really true to their formula. So the next year, in 97, we get absolutely no alternative. And on the art, you got an Anvil sort of like smashing down on the receiver. So here we start off with Old School, Green Jesus, Show Me Your Tits, No One to Follow, Hair Pie, Rubberneck, Piss Test, Red Light, Black or White, and Hero by Death. And if you got the bonus, you got the 1997 edition of March of the Crabs. Which, believe it or not, I discovered this version of it before I did the original. And I thought it was pretty good and everything. And then whenever I went back and listened to all of Metal on Metal and heard the original of it, it's like, holy shit, that's on fire, man. But I would say Old School is like the best song on this album. So then we move on to 1999's Speed of Sound. And we have a picture of an anvil with wings flying through the sky on the album cover. Real cool album art. They never disappoint on the album art, that's for sure. They have that sort of that old school feature, I guess you call it. So here we start off with Speed of Sound, the title track, Blood on the Playground, Deadbeat Dad, Man Overboard, No Evil, Bullshit, Mattress Mambo, Secret Agent, Life to Lead, and Park That Truck. And if you get the bonuses, you get Kick Some Ass and Vengeance to Kill. And I feel like by the late 90s into the 2000s, I feel like the albums really started to improve a little bit. Like, I feel like 90s was sort of like their slump decade, in my opinion, as far as how their albums were. But here, definitely enjoyed it. Definitely, Bullshit was a good song. Speed of Sound, their title track, that was good. Park the Truck was really awesome, so definitely a good solid album there. So moving on, we leave the 90s into the 2000s. We got 2001's Plenty of Power. So here you have a bulldozer shaped like an anvil pushing the dirt. Another really cool cover, sort of like a caterpillar, you know. So starting off, you get Plenty of Power, Groove Science, Ball of Fire, The Creep. And I like that song. I like how that song goes, like, the creep, well, fuck you, over. You got Computer Drone, Beat the Law, Pro Wrestling, Siren of the Sea, Disgruntled. That's a really good song whenever you're at work and you're pissed off. Real Metal. And then, if you get the Canadian version of it, Left Behind and Dirty Dorothy. Which, I don't have that version, because I'm here in the States. But another damn solid album by those guys right there. The next year, in 2002, we get Still Going Strong. And then here we have Race Against Time, Inhale, Hollywood, Still Going Strong, Don't Ask Me. I like that song, Don't Ask Me. Probably my favorite song off of this album. You get Waiting, White Rhino, What I'm About, Sativa, and Defiant. So then, moving on to 2004, we have another good album, Back to Basics. And I feel like this album really stands out in this very decade. Anyway, so we start off with Fuel for the Fire, Feed The Flame. I love how that goes. Then you got Keep It Up, another good one. Song of Pain, You Get What You Pay For. Chainsaw, Can't Catch Me, Go Away. Bottom Feeder, love that one. Cruel World, also love that one too. And we end that with Fast Driver. And then, of course, this one actually came with a bonus DVD. If you got the physical copy, you get a bonus DVD that has, like, a live Whack in 1998 concert, which has, like a bunch of the previous tracks on it. But definitely a damn good album. So, moving on to 2007, and I do have this on physical. This is 13. And this is the album they actually were recording whenever the movie got recorded. So, like, in the movie, you saw, like, some of the rehearsals and stuff they were doing with this. And this is also their only independently released album. And I like, in the movie, it documented how the one member's sister actually, like, loaned them the money to produce this album, since they were self-releasing it. And then, it was like 2 years later, in 2009, it got a re-release under VH1 Classic Records with a bonus track, which is what this is. Now, this album here, I would call this a forbidden album. And what's a forbidden album, you ask? This is one of those albums that's, not only is it out of print, and you sort of have to search around to buy it online, or maybe like a mom and pop store, but you cannot find it on, I think you can find it on iTunes. You cannot find it on Amazon for download. You can't stream it on Spotify. So that's why I call it sort of forbidden. But it's sort of that one album that, like, I think it needs to be re-released and promoted more, I think. Because I think it's pretty damn good. There you got the inside of the disc. And, yeah, the album art still doesn't disappoint. So here we have the title track, This Is 13. We got Bombs Away, 2 color tracks right there. Burning Bridges, Ready to Fight, Flying Blind, Room Number 9, Axe to the Grind, Feed the Greed, Big Business, Shoulda, Woulda, Coulda. You got Worry, Game Over, American Refugee, and with this version you get Thumb Hang, which is the bonus track that came out in 2009. And this album and Back to Basics are, like, I think my favorite 2 of this decade. And yeah, like I said, they really need to get this one back out there. There's definitely some good gems in this album for sure. So then, moving on, 2011, we get Juggernaut of Justice. Another good solid album right here. You have the title track, Juggernaut of Justice, When Hell Breaks Loose, New Orleans Voodoo, On Fire, Fucking Yeah, Fucking I like that. You can tell it's Canadian. You got Turn It Up, damn good track there. This Ride, Not Afraid, Conspiracy, Running, Paranormal. No, that's not an Alice Cooper cover. You got Swing Thing, The Station, Tonight Is Coming, and What I Want to Be, which the last 3 I just mentioned there were bonuses. But here you go, another good solid one coming off of This Is 13. Definitely another great album. And also in 2011, we get a remake of Slip Kid by The Who, which that was featured on the Sons of Anarchy soundtrack. That came out, like, later on in 2011. So then, moving on, we're in the I already mentioned 2010s, but 2013, we get Hope in Hell, and the album art on here, you can see, kick ass. So here we have, obviously the title track, Hope in Hell. We have Eat Your Words, Through With You, The Fight Is Never Won, Pay the Toll, Flying, Call of Duty, Badass Rock and Roll. It's a badass song, I love it. Time Shows No Mercy, Mankind Machine, and Shut the Fuck Up. And then bonus tracks on here, Hardwired and Fire at Will. And yeah, even the CD looks cool. Like, you don't get this with downloads or streaming. Of course, they put the book in here. I'm not a fan of, like, these digipacks, honestly. I'd rather have the hard case like on the last one. But all in all, Still pretty good stuff. I got this one actually at a mom and pop's record store down in Waynesboro, PA. So that's all I have on physical there. But moving on, 2016, we get Anvil's Anvil. And here we have a picture of an anvil through a mirror. Kind of weird. Yeah, the anvil's like on the front of the cover, and then you can see it in the mirror. So you have Daggers and Rum, and that song sort of sticks out because you sort of get that pirate vibe there, like almost an Ailstorm vibe when you listen to this. We did do an all-in with Ailstorm earlier on. It's somewhere on this channel. So we got Up, Down, Sideways, Gun Control, Die for a Lie, Runaway Train. No, not a Soul Asylum cover there. Zombie Apocalypse, It's Your Movie, Ambushed, Fire on the Highway, Run Like Hell. No, that's not a Pink Floyd cover. Forgive, Don't Forget. And bonus tracks, you get Never Going to Stop. The Japanese bonus, you get You Don't Know What It's Like. So, yeah, another good solid one. I'd say Daggers and Rum's like the standout track on this one for sure. 2018, we get Pounding the Pavement. So here we start off with Bitch in the Box, Ego, Doing What I Want, Smash Your Face, Pounding the Pavement, title track, Rock That Shit, Let It Go, Dan Cook of the North, Black Smoke, World of Tomorrow, Warming Up, and Don't Tell Me. And Don't Tell Me was just like a bonus track in Japan, and then bonus track, yeah, that says bonus track except Japan. And then if you got the Japan version, you get Spark It Up. But yeah, another good solid album. Nothing that sticks out above the rest, but not bad either. I didn't hate any of them. So now we're into the 2020s. So just in this half decade alone, they've put out 3 albums and are working on another one currently. We got Legal at Last in 2020. And this one here shows a picture of an angel in the sky with a glass anvil smoking it like a bong. Very cool shit right there. So here we have Legal at Last, title track. We have Nabbed in Nebraska. See, they could have done that as a title track too, running with the whole theme. So you notice they run that theme with some of their songs too, even though they're not title tracks. You have Chemtrails, Gasoline, I'm Alive, Talking to the Wall, Glass House, Plastic in Paradise, Bottom Line, Food for the Vulture, Said and Done, and bonus track No Time. And if you get the Japanese bonus track, Don't Shoot the Messenger. And I would say Legal at Last and Nabbed in Nebraska were like the standout tracks on this. Alright, so moving on, 2022, we get Impact is Element. And here in the cover art, you get sort of, it looks like the anvil is sort of rotating around the moon or the planet, and it's just like flying through the air with like a red sky behind the word anvil. Real cool album art, as I said before, time and time again. So we start off with the song Take a Lesson, we have Ghost Shadow, Another Gunfight, Fire Rain, Teabag, Don't Look Back, no, not a Boston cover. We have Someone to Hate, Bad Side of Town, Wizard's Wand, A Lockdown, Exclusive Energy, The Rabbit Hole, Shockwave, and Gomez. And here again, not a standout, but not bad. So here, moving on, we have their latest album from 2024, One and Only. So here we go, an anvil in the cover, and it's just sort of there on the, like on a stage, but still real cool album art. So we get the title track, One and Only. We have Feed Your Fantasy. Yeah, that could be another title track. You have Fight for Your Rights, not Fight for Your Right like the Beastie Boys. We have Heartbroken, Golden Diamonds, Dead Man's Shoes, Truth is Dying, Rocking the World, Runaway, World of Fools, Condemned Liberty, and Blind Rage. And yeah, it took me like exactly a week of, working, being in and out of the van to hear all this. And I talk about in other all-ins about concert experiences, so I've never seen these guys live. I would love to. They sound awesome. But as far as them getting, getting promoted, I'd have to give the credit to the movie, The Story of Anvil, for giving them the credit they deserve. Because now they actually struck the deal to get to do the Who cover for the Sons of Anarchy soundtrack. So like even people outside of the metal world can get exposure to them. But I never ever heard them on regular radio, like never once. And I feel like when Metal and Metal came out, that album should have been a hit right there. I mean, that should have made them take off, in my opinion. But they were just overlooked, It's a shame too. Like they basically remained an underground band, just like all the other underground bands I was, watching over the years around this area. That's what they were. They were underground for close 30 years before they sort of caught their break there. And I'm definitely interested to see what they come out with in 2026. But that's the thing. Like despite their lack of success, I mean, they just kept at it. Like they never, like a lot of popular bands, they'll have their time and then they'll disappear, or maybe they'll take a 10-year break from the studio and then you see a new album, many years later. Where here, they haven't had more than a 4-year gap between albums the entire time they've been in the business. And, you gotta respect that, But ratings, let's rate the albums. So I'm just gonna straight out do decades with them. So 20 total albums. We're gonna go to the 80s. The 80s, we have 5 studio albums. Backwax is in there too, but I'm not really gonna count it since it wasn't really a truly an original album. It was more so like outtakes and greatest hits. But 80s Anvil, 5 albums. Well, hands down, Metal and Metal is the best one. Loved it. Never get sick of that album. Hard and Heavy was really good too, but I think Metal and Metal sort of like edged it out a little bit. Forged in Fire, like those first 3 were sort of real close. I would say Strength of Steel was probably my least favorite, but not by much. I mean, I would say like the early 80s stuff is like up here, the later 80s stuff maybe in the middle. Didn't hate it. So then we move on to 90s Anvil, and I would say my least favorite decade of Anvil. Now at this point, we're in the grunge era, so it's like they were really being overlooked at this point. So my favorite album of this decade, I'm gonna say Speed of Sound, because I feel like that's where they really started to take off in their, I'm gonna call it their second wind, in my opinion. But yeah, Speed of Sound, definitely my favorite. Least favorite, I don't know, probably Worth the Wait. But like I said, I didn't hate any of them. Now, coming up in the 2000s, my favorite there, it's definitely a toss-up between Back to Basics and This Is 13. Both great albums. So I'm just gonna do a tie and be like Back to Basics and This Is 13 for my favorite. Least favorite, probably Plenty of Power. Didn't hate it, but I feel like they were getting better and better as that decade went on. Like even from like when they went from like 97 to 99, like I feel like they progressively got better in that stretch there. So then moving on to the 2010s, we have 4 albums there. And I feel like they sort of leveled off in this decade. I think my favorite in this decade, Juggernaut of Justice, for sure. My least favorite in this decade, Anvil is Anvil. And then moving on to the 2020s, 3 albums in that decade. I'm really not sure what's my favorite, my least favorite between these 3, but I'm gonna say, yeah, Legal at Last. I'm gonna say is my favorite. Damn good, love the lyrics. Impact of Sentiment, probably my least favorite. But who knows? Maybe the new album in 2026 could dethrone that. We'll see. They still got half the decade left to record. They've been like the past 10 years. They've been very consistent, like an album every other year. So I don't know if the guys retired from their normal jobs and now they can get in the studio more. But But yeah, if you haven't checked Anvil out, those of you metalheads out there, definitely check them out. Like, I feel like there's a lot of missing gems there. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this all-in featuring the Canadian band Anvil. And yeah, so next episode we're going to pay homage to a hometown hero. Find out who it is next time.